Hey folks, today we're going to talk about, fairly short video by the way, talk about field stripping and cleaning the Barrett MRAD. This one happens to be chambered in 300 PRC and I've almost got it set up. If you watched our previous video, you noticed that I said I have ordered a scope. Well, that scope that I ordered is this Schmidt & Bender PM2 ultra short 3 to 20 power scope. It is a fantastic scope. I've used it some. This rifle is now zeroed. And once again, the Schmidt & Bender, just a fantastic scope. Very nice pairing with this rifle here. It's also the first scope, by the way, that I've had that's not black. A little bit of a departure from the norm for me. But we need to talk about cleaning, field stripping, and cleaning this rifle. You know, it's a bolt-action rifle, so it's not terribly difficult, but there are a couple of things that we have to really pay attention to, and that's these inner sleeves that are inside this rifle. Well, better for me to show you rather than just to talk about it. With the bolt in the up and open position, I'm going to depress this button here. Now this is kind of a bear. I mean, you really got to do this. And then once you release that, and it took me a little bit of work to do this, then it opens right up. Now this rifle has very few rounds on it, and it's very tight. It's machined to very, very, very close tolerances. And I suspect over time, maybe a couple hundred rounds through it, and probably more realistically, after a number of field stripping and cleaning, then I suspect that this disassembly process will kind of loosen up a little bit. I notice that this is also the case when I'm opening and closing, but more so opening this folding stock. It has become easier over time. Not that I've gotten any better with it or gotten used to some sort of special technique, but simply because the gun is broken in and worn down just that little bit, making it easier. So, the important thing with this is when we're removing, field stripping this thing, this is very normal. Okay, there's our bolt. And then there's two inserts inside here. And we have to pay attention to these so that we install them or reinstall them in the same order. The first one is this. Notice this notch right here. A little bit of metal showing there, right? This little notch has to align with this notch right here. That's important. The second sleeve is right here. And notice that notch. This notch right here has to fit into a notch on the inside right there. And we'll get a good close-up of that position also. Now, very similar to an AR, what we're going to do now is pop this pin. Okay, just going to give it a little push right there. And then we're going to remove this. Now, it is a captive pin. It's not going to come all the way out. And they warn you not to even try to do that. Of course, now we have it in two pieces. Let's pay attention to the lower first. Not much to do here other than kind of just wipe it off. Again, I've only got about 30 rounds on this rifle. It is effectively brand new. But we'll go ahead and wipe it down with a clean patch. And now to take care of the upper, I like to clean my precision rifles from or in the same direction that the bullet travels. In other words, I will insert the patch from the breech all the way and run it all the way through the muzzle. I like to use this rod, this type of cleaning rod right here. This is a Dewey cleaning rod. This is very good. for this purpose, but also I like to use the bore snake. This is another great cleaning innovation. Came out quite a number of years ago now, but I remember when these first came out, I was really happy to start using these. Now the one thing about these cleaning snakes or bore snakes is you got to check them. You got to check them to make sure that they're not frayed, that they're going to break off or leave something in the bore. And when you're using them, make sure that you're pulling straight. You want to pull that bore snake straight through the bore, and don't let it kind of tip on an angle as you're pulling it out, in this case by the muzzle brake. Just pull absolutely straight through, and that will greatly extend the life of that bore snake. But using the Dewey cleaning rod, what I like to do is I'll apply a little bit of solvent. Hoppy's number 9 is my choice of solvent. And to that patch, that'll be my first patch through, and I will run it through the bore. And then on my precision rifles, I like to remove the patch. After it pulls through, you can use a jag instead, so it'll drop loose or drop free on the opposite side. And then what I normally do is I will use a brush. Nylon brush is fine. A softer or brass brush works fine also. Brass is much, much softer than this steel. You're not going to harm this barrel by using a brass brush. Just don't scrub it in this direction. Push it straight through, and then I will repeat the swab process, right? And normally I'll let that Hoppy's number 9 sit in the bore for a few minutes, number of minutes, and then I will run a new dry patch through the rifle. One more time again, one direction only. And I may need to repeat that process a couple of times. In other words, I may find out that that patch is really dirty. Okay, so I'm going to apply some solvent to that patch, run it through again. Maybe I will also, and then let it sit. I might also then run that brush through it again and kind of repeat that process until I get a fairly clean patch. This patch is coming out like this at this point. That is fine. Okay, a little bit right there, a little bit of a little bit of carbon fouling right there, and that is not a problem. I'm not going to worry about this at all. The last thing I'll do is I will put a little bit of oil on this. Hoppy's oil is fine. There are some even better oils than that, and but Hoppy's will work just fine for the inside of your bore. Run that through once, and that is it. Before shooting, though, what I like to do is I will take a new clean patch, absolutely new clean patch, and I'll run it through again. And I'm going to dry that bore, and actually more importantly, I'm going to make sure that my chamber does not have any oil or solvent residue on it. That actually is more important. Okay, so make sure that that chamber is dry. And then it's simply a matter of reassembly. Kind of working this in the reverse order. Now notice that notch, okay, right there, and the notch right here. Those need to align. And when they do, that forward or inner bolt sleeve will fit absolutely flush right here. Next, we're going to take this sleeve, and notice this is the rail or the track where that bolt actually is going to fit. Again, this is an important little indicator mark. And notice that right there. That is, again, a perfect fit. Now this bolt is interesting also. It has, just a number of locking lugs, 9 locking lugs. It is a short throw bolt, 60-degree lift. Very similar that way to my Browning BBR and 7mm mag. But this right here is actually a very nice feature. This plunger, kind of reminiscent of the Remington Model 700 and some other rifles. This plunger right here serves a purpose, and several purposes, but one of them that's really important for precision is that as this recessed bolt face encases the rim of that cartridge, this plunger will be depressed. Once the bolt is closed and the handle turned downward, this plunger is going to move forward, and it's going to force that cartridge as far forward in the chamber as possible. Now what this is going to do is it's going to ensure a much more uniform seating of that cartridge inside the chamber itself. It's going to push that cartridge forward to where it headspaces. For 300 PRC, of course, that headspaces on the shoulder. It's going to push that forward. And so while we have it apart, I just wanted to talk about that. Again, what I do for cleaning is just to wipe down this bolt, and there's nothing too much special. It's not a semi-automatic rifle, but just taking one of these silicone rags right here and wiping it down. That's really about all you have to do based on the condition that it's in right now. I mean, it is pretty darn clean. It's very clean, actually. If it were more fouled, okay, hit it with a little bit of, a clean patch, hit it with a little bit of solvent, wipe that stuff off. But this is about all that you're going to need on this bolt right here. The final part of the uppers reassembly is to simply insert the bolt. That is that. Now let's get the lower reattached to the upper. We want to make sure that the pin is fully extended out. Otherwise, we're going to have a devilish time. We will not be able to get this reconnected. You might want to put a little bit of oil or some lube, some grease on this. And of course, that fits right here. Now again, this is really a tight fit. And it seems to go on pretty well. There we go. It's getting easier every time I do this. That was fairly easy this time. Again, very tight fit. This rifle is machined, very close tolerances. The last step is where we want to do a function check. And that's simple enough. What you're going to do is run that action. Ensure, triple check, double check, triple check. This is a empty rifle. Put it to the fire position. Barrett is recommending or suggesting 6 rounds for or 6 cycles for a function check. You can do all 6, you can do 5, you can do 1, whatever. Double checking, triple checking, this rifle is fully functional. Everything is put back together as it's supposed to be. And that is that.